Welcome to this LCMS Youth Ministry webinar, where we'll be focusing on the registration process for the 2016 LCMS Youth Gathering. We are so glad you're here, and thank God for your participation this evening, and look forward to our discussion talking about registration and a little bit of things to expect programmatically for the LCMS Youth Gathering. My name is Mark Kiesling. We'll be going through a little bit of an introduction about the gathering in 2016 and gearing us up for registration. Also joining you today is Krista Miller, Gathering Registrar, Kyla Rodriguez, Gathering Assistant Registrar. They will walk you through the basics of registration, including a step-by-step process. Also here is Amy Gray, Gathering Project Coordinator, and myself, who will help with facilitating and answering questions. One piece I wanted to draw your attention to is the comment box on your left-hand side of your screen. And right now, if you're interested in downloading some information that we'll be going over, there are some documents that are available. One is the actual PowerPoint presentation that we will be going through this evening, as well as a handout from a NYG 101 presentation that we just did at the National Lutheran Youth Workers Conference in New Orleans just last week. Also is the Gathering registration book, which is now also available on the Gathering website. And so we'll be going through that information, but also you can download those links there so you have the opportunity to get that information and be able to use it at future meetings. Also posted there is the link to on the Gathering website for more registration information. There's worksheets and other things too that will be referenced throughout our presentation this evening. Just a little bit about the agenda. Again, I'm going to give a short introduction about some changes from 2013 to 2016 that will be important for you to consider as you start the registration process. Krista will talk about, again, the basics for gathering registration. Kyle will do a step-by-step walkthrough of the registration process. And then we'll have time for question and answer, in which you'll be able to type your questions into the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Just a little bit of few tips there. Again, hopefully you've been able to locate that chat box on the left-hand side of your screen. And then we'll be able to answer those questions throughout the presentation. If you have them, Amy and I will try to get to those. Then at the end of the time as well, Krista and Kyle will be able to assist you with any questions you might have. I'm going to ask you to join with me in a word of prayer, and then we'll get started. Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you this day for the gift of life and faith. I thank you for the gift of technology and the opportunity to get together and discuss the 2016 LCMS Youth Gathering in Christ alone. Father, we pray for the youth of our churches. Bless, guide, and govern them by your Holy Spirit, that they may grow in grace and in knowledge of your word. Grant that they may serve you well and usefully, developing their talents not for their own sakes, but for the glory of God and the welfare of their neighbor. We pray for their parents as they serve in their vocation and give thanks for parents who raise their children in the Christian faith. We give thanks for many pastors and DCEs and teachers and church workers who minister to young people and point them to the cross and the empty tomb as signs of God's love for them. We also give thanks for the many volunteers who support young people in their walk with Jesus Christ. Continue to bless them with a heart of care and love. God, we pray for our congregations, for youth and adults who are preparing to attend the LCMS Youth Gathering. I pray for your blessing upon their time in your word and in your community, their plans and their travel and time at the event, that in and through it all, they are built up in their faith in Jesus Christ alone. Bless our conversation this evening. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. I'm going to start just with a couple of things that are new for the 2016 gathering. Next month's webinar in August, I'm going to go into more detail about the gathering program, including the daily schedule and things, so there'll be more opportunity to discuss the program. But there are a couple of things that connect with our registration program that we want to introduce to you this evening. First, if you've attended a gathering before, you might be familiar with the priority window that we've used in the registration process. This was about a 2-week period in which we collected registrations that came into our office and essentially gave all those that came into our office at that time an equal opportunity to connect to their hotel choice as well as their opportunity to get into the youth gathering. We will not be utilizing a priority window in 2016. Partly, New Orleans has a great amount of space for our events, and so we feel good about that. Whoever will register for the gathering will be able to be accepted to the gathering. We will have an opportunity, as Krista will explain, about where you will receive your official welcome to the event after you register. Also, another important part of that is that between the hotel selection and also your program preference selection, which I'll talk about in a minute, we will then slot those based on the order in which they are received into our office following the postmark date. A little bit about our program preferences. As you're well aware, if you've registered in the past with a youth gathering, when you would first register, you would be asked if you wanted to serve at an off-site servant event in the host city. As we've had program options expand and increase at the youth gathering, we've come up with a plan to make those available to more congregations and to more fairly allow congregations to connect to those program options beyond just off-site servant events. So instead of just being asked, do you want to attend an off-site servant event, we are actually asking you to rank 4 of the additional program components that we provide at the youth gathering throughout the day of the event. So again, this is on like the Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, the full days of the gathering. Those components are off-site servant events like we've done in the past, which are actually getting onto buses, going out into the city of New Orleans, and serving there for basically the entire morning into the early afternoon of your day. The second option are on-site servant events. These are opportunities to serve at the convention center in a variety of ways that our team are working on. Some of those will impact the New Orleans community. Others will impact other ministries across the country and across the world. And so, again, this would be not getting on buses, but would be a part of your program time during the day at the convention center. A third option are off-site interest centers. These are opportunities to learn about the history and culture of New Orleans, a little bit about the story post-Katrina of how the city has come back to life in many of their neighborhoods. And so these are opportunities, again, where you would either walk to a location or actually get on a bus and go and hear a speaker or experience, again, an off-site learning opportunity. These generally happen both in the morning and afternoon, and essentially, if you're familiar with the schedule that we'll go over again in August, take up 2 slots of interest centers. But again, it's an expanded interest center that is off the premises of the convention center. The fourth option are our Bible study academies. These are intensive studies of specific topics or a specific part of God's Word. These are done over 3 days of the gathering, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, for 1 hour each day. So it's 3 hours in total, 1 day or 1 hour on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And so those are, again, those 4 options: the off-site servant events, on-site servant events, off-site interest centers, and Bible study academies will be opportunities for you to rank them in order for your group. You will then have your opportunity later, probably in the spring of 2016, to give more detail on what specific interests you have, like whether it's a specific topic in the Bible Study Academy, and we will also tell you which of those program options you've been selected for. So that will come later. The other piece, too, I want to bring up is that, like past gatherings, we will have 5 large events at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, starting Saturday evening, and the last one being on Wednesday morning, July 20th. One thing that will be slightly different is that our final Dome event will be our Gathering Worship Divine Service. And so that will be on Wednesday morning. And so we're really excited about the opportunity to send you and your young people home following our worship service, receiving God's gifts, and returning back to our homes and our vocations. There will be a short little closing after the worship service, too, to send us home. But again, Wednesday morning will be our Divine Service worship service, and we look forward again to having you a part of that next year. The next part, too, again, as Chris will get into, is the main thing for the registration process to remember in all of this are the program preferences. That information is in the registration book, and again, I'll talk about it more in detail at the August webinar. Now it's my pleasure to have Krista start walking us through the gathering registration process, as well as Kyla doing a step-by-step registration demonstration.
Well, welcome, everyone. We're glad that you're able to join us this evening. It's hard to believe, but the gathering registration is right around the corner. So we thought it'd be a great opportunity to share some information about the gathering and registration, and hopefully get you off on a positive direction as you start your gathering planning process. First, important piece is the registration dates and deadlines that we want to bring to your attention. September 9th of this year is when online data entry opens. And what that means is that's when you can actually log into the registration program set up your account, and you can begin entering the data for each of the participants in your group. You don't have to do this all at once. You can do one or two registrations, come back and do some later on, especially if you have a large group, or you can sit and do it all at the same time. It really doesn't matter, but you can begin doing that on September 9th. October 21st is when the registration actually begins. And what that means is that as you complete your registration process, you will be prompted to print several documents. Those documents will actually have to be mailed into our office along with your deposit or your registration fee. This will be shown to you. The whole program directs you on how to do this, but you cannot mail this prior to October 21st. If you do send them before that, if they're postmarked prior to that, we will return them. We want it to be fair and equitable for everyone, so October 21st is the first day that you can actually mail those forms into our office. January 1st of 2016 is when we promise to have the confirmation sent to each of the groups. Historically, we've been able to get this information out to you sooner than that, but we promise to have this done by January of 2016. In early spring of 2016, the primary adult leaders will receive their hotel assignment, so meaning which hotel your group is assigned to. Early April, we would need for the hotel deposits to be sent into our office. So what you will have to do for every hotel room that you have, you will send one night's deposit to our office, and that is for the hotel deposit. May 4th of 2016 is the deadline if you want to take advantage of express registration at the gathering. So when you actually arrive at the gathering, you will have to go to the convention center and get your wristbands, backpacks, and other registration materials. And if you have paid the balance of your registration fee at that time, the whole thing goes much quicker. You don't have to. If that's just not possible, that's perfectly okay. It does take a little bit longer, but if you can do it by May 4th, it'll expedite your whole process at the gathering. And then July 16th is the gathering. So registration materials, what is out there for you? If you go to lcmsgathering.com/attend, that is where you will go to get started with your whole registration process. One of the things you will find is the youth and adult worksheets. Now, this is something as the primary adult leader, the contact person for your group, you will want to print these worksheets, and you will distribute those to the youth and adults in your group who are planning to attend. You have them, you collect the information. They give you all the information, give it back to you, and it makes it easier for you to then sit and actually enter the information online. Don't mail those forms to us. That's simply for your benefit and to make your registration process easier. So we do not need that information. That's strictly for you. If you do have someone in your group who has special needs, you will want to check that box on the registration, on the online registration. But in addition to that, there will be a special needs form that you will find online. You will want to print that, fill it out, and return that form along with all of the registration materials as well. We share that form with our special needs advisor. They get in touch with your group, and we want to make sure that the person with special needs gets the attention they need and that their gathering experience is as good as everyone else's. All the registration is online. You cannot begin entering this until September 9th, but that's the beginning date for that. After, as I said before, as you proceed through the registration program, it's very simple, straightforward, user-friendly, and it will then prompt you what to print and what to mail in. Everyone who attends the gathering must have a paid registration, and that will get you a wristband. We oftentimes have people say, well, I have a friend or my parent or a spouse or whatever is going to come. They just want to come for one event or one interest center or something. Can they do that? That's not the way the gathering is designed. All participants have to be paid registrations, and they will then get a wristband, and that will allow them admission into all of the gathering events. So who can attend? Who should attend? The gathering is basically designed for young people 14 to 19 years old. So on the lower end, the age requirement is that you have to be 14 years old at the time of the gathering. So that means a young person has to be 14 by July 16th of 2016. Or, and I'm saying or, not both, but or going into their freshman year of high school, into the 9th grade in the fall of 2016. So what that means is if you have a young person in your group that maybe started kindergarten early and they're only 13 years old, but they're actually going into 9th grade in the fall of 2016, that's okay. So it's only one or the other, 14 years old by the time of the gathering or going into 9th grade in the fall. Now, participants that have turned 21 years old are no longer youth. They have to register as an adult leader. We'll talk a little bit about the youth to adult ratio. The groups should be able to accommodate a significant number of adults. So if someone has turned 21, they should be able to go, but they have to register as an adult leader, not a youth. If you do have young people between the ages of 19 and 25 years old in your group, you may want to encourage them to register as a young adult volunteer, especially if they've already attended a previous gathering. This is an amazing group of young people. There's usually about 500 of them, and they serve the gathering in a variety of different ways. They don't have long days of commitment with the gathering, but they do serve and volunteer, and it's a wonderful experience for them, and the gathering certainly benefits from their service as well. So in the past, I think it's been sort of assumed that everyone who attends the gathering has to be Lutheran. That's not exactly true. We do encourage you, actually, to invite a friend who maybe is unchurched or marginally churched. This might be someone in your neighborhood or someone that you go to school with. Now, if this is something that you want to do, that's great, but we would recommend that you do this sooner rather than later. Invite them to be part of the group, to go to the youth group meetings with you, to do fundraisers with you, to do pre-gathering Bible studies with you. Get to know the pastor, get to know the other people in your group, so that when the gathering comes around, they actually are part of the group, and it's not just like a last-minute thing of, hey, come to New Orleans with us. So we are more than welcome to, we do welcome them to attend with you, but invite them to be a part of the group as a whole. The best thing for a safety issue is that every group has at least 2 adults. Even if you only have 2 youth, we still recommend that you have 2 adults, and it's strictly for a safety issue. If something should happen to one of the young people and they would have to go to the hospital or something like that, or even worse, if something happened to the one adult, there would be no one to chaperone the young people. So regardless of the size of your group, we recommend that you have 2 adults. Now, we've listed the youth to adult ratio, and notice that they are recommended. So you don't have to strictly, abide by that, but those are what the gathering does recommend as adequate chaperones for the number of youth in that group. We do draw the line, though, at no more than 1 adult to every two youth. So you cannot have more than 1 adult for every 2 youth in your group. If for some reason your church only has 1 young person, and there's just no one else to go with them, you may want to contact your district coordinator and see if there's someone else at a neighboring church or in the district that this young person might go along with. There is a list of the district coordinators and all of the resources, and so you can find out who yours is. Our church body is made up of 35 separate districts, and we have a representative from each of those districts that has worked with the gathering. They've been trained, and they can answer questions about the gathering and help you in your planning for all of the aspects of that as well. We get questions frequently of groups that are traveling together. They may be getting a bus together or multiple buses, and they want to stay together at the same hotel. That is certainly something that we can accommodate. If you refer to page 7 in the registration book, there's step-by-step instructions on exactly how to make that happen. So if you just follow those instructions, send the materials in together, we can certainly work with you to ensure that you all are housed at the same hotel. So what is the registration cost? The registration cost for the gathering? It's $325 per participant for youth and adults. So same fee for the youth as adults. Everyone pays the same. You will have to send in a $100 non-refundable deposit at the time of registration. After March 4th of 2016, the fee does go up to $375 per participant. So there are 2 payment options. When you register, when you send all your materials in, you can submit $100 per person. as the deposit, or you can actually pay the entire balance at the time that you send your registration materials in. The only thing that we do require is that you do the same thing for everybody. So if you're going to send the deposit in, you send a deposit for everyone. If you're going to pay in full, that you pay in full for everyone, and you don't do part for each of the students in your group. And how do you pay? We are not able to take credit cards in our office, so primarily we take checks, but the checks must be drawn on the youth group account or the church account. One check per congregation, please, not multiple checks. We do not take personal checks, and we do not take cash. The other thing you could do, you can send a cashier's check or money order if that works better for you. The one other thing that we'd like to recommend is that you check into the LCEF Steward account. LCEF, has designed accounts for us, the Steward account, that if you open this account, as you do your fundraising, you can just deposit your monies into that account. When you actually go to the gathering, you will get a credit card that you can use at the gathering. You can pay your registration fee, you can pay hotels, use it at restaurants, wherever. LCEF also has a bank set up on site at the gathering. So if you're planning to give each of your youth a certain amount of money each day for their meals or spending money or whatever, you don't have to travel with all of that cash money. You can simply go to the bank when you get to the gathering, to the LCEF bank, and they will give you the cash at that time. Cancellations and substitutions. As I said, the $100 deposit is non-refundable. If you have actually paid the full $325 and you do cancel, someone cancels, you can get a refund of $225. However, that is only up until May 4th. Up until May 4th, there are no refunds. You can, however, still substitute until June 1st. So if you have a student that for whatever reason needs to cancel on May 15th, if they can get someone to substitute in their place, there's no penalty for that. You can simply make the substitution up until June 1st. Now, we do get questions frequently that people say, can I substitute a boy for a girl or vice versa? From our standpoint, it does not matter. You can substitute whomever you want into those positions, but just be mindful of your hotel situation. If you have a perfect 4 boys, 4 girls in a hotel room, and you substitute out a boy for a girl, you've upset the balance basically of your hotel room. So just be aware of the impact it might have on your group if you do substitute a boy for a girl. And again, if you pay your balance before May 4th, you can take advantage of the expedited registration on site at the gathering. Gathering hotels. Now, this is kind of a hot button, if you will, and I think, and rightly so. It's a big deal where you're going to stay and enjoy the gathering. So I think it warrants spending a little bit of time on this. If you are a first-time gathering participant, a little bit of history on the gathering hotels is that in the past gatherings, we contracted with the hotels, which is typically around 50, give or take, and we would publish the whole list of all of the hotels that are available. We allowed everyone to have the opportunity to explore all those hotels, and they would then give us their top 10 choices of what they wanted. Out of those top 10, we could pretty well figure out what type of property each group is looking for. In San Antonio in 2013, for a variety of reasons, that was not going to work. So we needed to come up with a different process for the hotel assignments. So what we did was we went by zones. And as it turned out, there were 4 zones. Zone 1 had the most expensive hotels, the biggest and best and all of that, and they just happened to be closest to the Alamo Dome and the Convention Center. And then it kind of geographically just went out by the next wave was the next price and so on and so forth. So it worked out really well. Well, that's not the way New Orleans is set up. Actually, I didn't think that people in San Antonio were going to enjoy that. I thought they would have an issue with it, but it turned out it was just overwhelmingly well received. So we decided to do what people seem to want and do the same thing in New Orleans. So we've had to design a different process. So we have gone with levels. There are 3 levels of hotels. Level 1 is $145 a night. And when the prices that are there, that's per room, per night. It's not per person. So theoretically, each room would have 4 people in it. If you have a double room, you can put 4 people in it. So the $145 would be divided by 4 people. The level 1 has 2 hotels in it, and they are the Hilton New Orleans Riverside, and they're the Hyatt Regency. And they are the bookend hotels of our event, if you will. And the Hyatt Regency is right next door to the Superdome, and the Hilton is right next door to the Convention Center. All of the rest of the hotels are located between those 2 properties, and those 2 properties are about a mile apart. So that's the maximum distance that you would walk if from one end to the other is a mile. If you stay at either of these properties, there's a couple of little perks that do go along with those. If you are at the Hyatt, you are right next door to the Superdome, so as the late night, as the mass events get out in the evening, you are right by your hotel. If you're at the Hilton, you would be right by the Convention Center, which is where a lot of the morning activities start. For the 2016 gathering, the morning Bible studies are going to take place in the hotels and some in the Convention Center. If you are in one of these hotels, your Bible study will be at your hotel in the morning, so you don't need to walk to a different hotel or the Convention Center. You'll just walk downstairs for your Bible study. The late night events that take place after the mass events are held at the larger hotels. They will be at these 2 properties. In the past, these are very popular events, and we've had to limit the number of people that actually get into them just for safety, security, fire codes, that sort of thing. If you are a registered guest at either of these hotels, you will be guaranteed access to get into the late night events at those 2 properties. And then the one piece that has not been finalized yet, but it's in discussion, is that if you do get an off-site servant event, most probably they will deploy from the Convention Center as well as the Superdome. So if you are at the Hilton or the Hyatt, you will be close by the servant event deployment areas for both of those properties. The one thing that is noteworthy is that the gathering assigns everyone to their hotels. Do not book your own hotels. The only way to get your hotel is to be assigned through our office. So we do work with you and to get your input as far as which level you prefer, but we will assign you to your hotels. Now, a couple of other things regarding your thought process when you do choose the level of hotel that you want. A lot of times people tell us, well, I want a hotel that has a free breakfast. New Orleans has very few of those. They really are very scarce. So do not count on having a free breakfast at your hotel. If you budget for this, I think you're going to find that you will come up short. We work with the hotels. I have 3 pre-conference meetings with them before the gathering, and one of the things that we strongly recommend that they do is provide some sort of grab-and-go breakfast, something that's easy and quick for all of your youth, that they can just kind of grab it on the go, that these are very inexpensive and very convenient. They don't promise to do that. We can't force them to do it, but we do recommend that they do it, and most of the time they're pretty good about that. A lot of people also want a hotel that they can put 6 people in a room. Again, very scarce. It really doesn't happen very often. There aren't many of those in New Orleans. So plan on a king room, putting 2 people in a king room and 4 people in a double room. And just for clarification, a king room means 1 bed that is a king-size bed, and a double room means 2 double beds or 2 queen-size beds that accommodate 4 people. One of the other things that a lot of groups want to do is put rollaways into their rooms. This can become a problem. The hotels will not typically guarantee them. For the most part, you will not find a hotel that will put a rollaway into a double bed. It is simply a fire hazard. It just takes up too much space. If the hotel were to catch fire, people would not be able to get out of the room. They would put a rollaway into a king room, but not a double room. But again, rollaways are limited, so you can't always guarantee that you're going to get one. So for planning purposes, it's best to plan on 2 people in a king room, 4 people in a double room. And we do have sufficient amounts of double rooms, so if you want however many double rooms for your group, there should be no problem with that. You will not be forced to take king rooms if that's not what your group desires. A few things on New Orleans. If you were at the past few gatherings in Orlando and in San Antonio, you know that we were tax exempt in Florida and Texas. We are not tax exempt in the state of Louisiana. Again, that's just a government guideline. There's nothing we can really do about that. And it's the state tax. That is the one thing that we were tax exempt from in the other states, but we are not tax exempt in the state of Louisiana. And one thing on the hotels as well, the hotels, the prices do not include the taxes, and they do vary from one property to the next, one part of town, downtown as well. But if you want to add approximately 15% on to the cost of the hotel, the rate per night, it will get you in the ballpark from a budgeting standpoint. It won't be exact, but it will get you close to what you can calculate. The question is always, where do you park in downtown New Orleans? Well, if you've been to New Orleans, you know that it's a rather compact downtown area, and parking is pretty scarce. The best thing to do is wait until you get your hotel assignment next spring and contact the hotel and maybe find out what they do have to offer. The other thing that we are trying to do here in the Gathering office is work with the city to see if we can't secure either a parking lot or some sort of facility in the downtown area where groups can park their motor coaches or vans or what have you for a reasonable rate and have it accessible downtown. That hasn't been completed yet, but if we are able to do that, we will make that information available to you and tell you how to go ahead and secure a spot at this parking area. We are working with the shuttle company, and they are going to provide shuttling from the airport to the downtown hotels. The rate that we have secured with them is $30 per person round trip. And that price is actually less expensive than any of the other shuttle companies that offer shuttle service from the airport. Again, this will not be available until spring after you have your hotel assignments. You will go online, you will make this reservation yourself with the shuttle company, but you will need to know which hotel you're staying at before you can make your reservation, because they will pick you up at the airport and take you directly to your hotel and then take you back to the airport on the last day. So what are your next steps? How do you get started? You're going to want to schedule a meeting and just see who's interested in attending. And, don't underestimate the power that it has just to pick up the phone and call someone. I know we're totally immersed in the whole social media climate of things now, but sometimes there's just nothing better or more effective than a good old-fashioned phone call. So if you have someone maybe standing on the fringes, maybe reach out to them, either in person or with a phone call, and invite them to go along. Get your commitments from your group, adults as well as the youth. Collect the money that you need so that you're ready for your deposits and whatnot when registration actually opens. If you look on page 8 of the registration book, there's a list of all sorts of resources that will be very helpful in your planning process. So in getting ready to this, and you just have to do what works best for your group. You might talk to some other groups and find out exactly what they've done in the past to choose leaders or recruit them or what works best for you. Talk to the church board, staff, parents, and that sort of thing. Get your church involved in this. Even the elderly people are frequently very excited about what the young people are doing. Be your best supporters in your fundraisers and all sorts of things. So help them to be a part of what you're doing and have them get behind your whole process. Connect with your district coordinator. As I was saying before, they plan events at the gathering. You may be stressing over how you're going to get all these kids to the gathering, and it's possible they might be arranging a district bus, and it's as simple as just connecting with them, and you can take the district bus down to the gathering. So your district coordinator is a wealth of information and knowledge for you, so don't hesitate to do that. And the other thing that I really strongly suggest you do is join the Adult Leader Facebook group. 2013 was the first time that we did this, and it was just amazingly successful. The first time adult leaders, I think, felt so supported by this. They would put a question out there, and immediately they would have multiple responses from all over the country, and they would get better information sometimes than we could actually provide here at the office. These people have been there, they've done it, and the answers might be different based on if you're an urban church, if you're out in a rural area, or all sorts of things, geography, which part of the country you're from. So connect with the other adult leaders on the Facebook group, and they will support you and guide you, and if you are a veteran of the gathering, you can be that mentor for some new adult leaders. Again, page 8 of the registration book is where you will find most of the resources for the gathering. If you want to create your own PowerPoints, we have all of the logos and things there for your convenience, that you can make them and use them for all of your promotional pieces as well. Again, thegathering.com lead is another avenue for some more resources, and for fundraising as a group, team building experiences, help around New Orleans, there is the website for that. So with all of that being said, now you're going to be ready to actually register. So I have Kyla Rodriguez here with me, and she is going to walk you through and tell you exactly what you need to do step by step to do your registration process. Kyla?
Hi, everybody. So we're going to take a few minutes now and just walk through what it's actually going to look like to complete the online registration portion for the gathering next year. So the link that's on the slide currently, and I believe you can find it over in the chat box as well, lcmsgathering.com/registration, is where you will go to directly access all of the tools that you need for registration, in addition to actually getting onto the registration portal. Later in mid-August, you guys are going to receive what's called the pre-gathering mailer. This, again, is just going to be a big resource to you as you plan to register your group to attend the youth gathering. On this mailer on the outside, you'll see a congregation ID number is listed. This is what you're going to use to identify your congregation throughout all of your registration process leading up to the gathering. Each and every church will receive this at their home church address, so make sure that you talk to your secretary or your pastor or whoever usually collects the mail, and give them a heads up to be looking for this so that you don't miss it. It's bright and fun, so hopefully it's easy to spot. Inside this mailer, you're going to find a DVD, which will contain promotional videos that you can use to promote the gathering, in addition to some other videos that you can use to prepare your group. You'll also find the pre-gathering Bible study, all of the worksheets that Krista was referencing, and the registration book. If you want to get a sneak peek of a lot of those materials, you can download them off of our website if you head to lcmsgathering.com/attend. Once September 9th hits, the magic day, that blue button that says register here will be active, and when you go to lcmsgathering.com/registration and click on register here, it will take you to the registration website that we will use. Once you click on that, the home page for registration will look a little bit like this. When you go to register your group, make sure that you have all of your worksheets handy that you've collected from your youth and your adult leaders, in addition to having your congregation ID number from the front of your mailer. All groups will qualify as a new registration when you very, very first enter this page, and you'll go ahead and click on the Start Here button for your first steps. Once you click on Start Here, you'll be directed to a welcome page. On the welcome page, you're going to get a whole list of instructions that are going to be useful to you as you continue to register your group. This list is something that we encourage you to not only review, but also to print off so that you can reference back to it and make sure that your group stays on track with what you need to be doing to get your group to the gathering. Once you've read through all of these various steps, at the very bottom it will give you your initial password for your group's registration. This password is LCMS, all lowercase letters, and once you've seen that password, you can go ahead and click Proceed to Online Registration, which will bring you back to the login page. At this point, you'll go ahead and put your congregation ID number in, along with that lowercase LCMS password, and click Enter to begin your registration process. The very first thing that you'll be asked to do is to create your own password so that you can keep track of it. This password has some special requirements, so make sure that you follow the directions. It involves uppercase, lowercase letters, symbols, digits, and it allows you to choose those. So make it whatever is easy for you to remember. Once you set your initial password, then it will bring you into your congregation's registration homepage. The best advice that I can give you with this is to just work through this registration page from top to bottom when it comes to entering in your congregation's data. The other piece of advice is that we really encourage that there's just one person from your church filling out this information, preferably your primary adult leader. This is not really designed for your youth or your other adult leaders to come in and provide their own registration information. That is the function of the worksheets. So make the worksheets work for you. If you're going to have your students and adults fill them out, then use those to track your data as you enter it in. So working from top to bottom, the first piece that we'll do is enter our congregation details. So there's an orange button underneath of that heading that says enter. When you click that, you'll be directed to a page that will match up with your congregation details worksheet. So you'll go through, and this is where you tell us how many students and adults that you have attending, how you plan on paying for your attendance at the National Youth Gathering, your hotel information, your arrival dates, and this is also where you'll have the opportunity to express your interest in some of our additional program options that Mark mentioned at the beginning of this talk. It will also remind you of the password that you set. This is another spot where you might want to jot that down so you can keep track of it. And then at the very bottom we'll ask you to save your work. This is a great feature on all of the pages for the registration data in that you can work on it as you have time and as you have the information. And as long as you hit save, the information that you've typed in will still be there when you come back the next time. Anytime that you hit save on a page, that will always bring you back to your congregation's registration homepage. The next step as we work from top to bottom would be entering in the information for yourself, the primary adult leader. You'll go ahead and click the button that says add, which will direct you to the page where you can type in all of your own information. Again, this will match up with the worksheet for primary adult leaders and your adult leaders, and so you'll be able to just take that data and enter it down the line. Once you get to the bottom, don't forget to save, and then you can go back to your registration homepage to continue. The next step will be to enter all of your adult leaders in, and you'll notice that as we go through the registration process, you'll be able to see the names of the people that you have filled out registration information for. For the adult leader, again, there will be a button that says add, and right now it tells us we have nobody entered. So when we click the add button, then we're prompted to enter all the data for that adult leader. Again, at the top of each page, it says what information you're entering. So here we're entering information on an adult leader. You might just always check that as you go through to make sure that the worksheet you're using matches up with the data that the page is requesting. Once again, once you enter all the information that you have, go ahead and hit save to be directed back to the landing page for your registration. Now, the last people that we have to enter are your youth participants, and again, this is probably what will take you the most amount of time is entering all of your youth participants and their information, so make sure that if you need to take a break that you just hit save at any point. For youth participants, it's the same. You hit add, it'll direct you to a page to enter all of their information. Something different with your youth participants and your adult leader participants is that we do give them the option of if they want their contact information to be distributed to some of the LCMS colleges that request information from our student participants. This is something that they can opt out of and something that is on their worksheet so their parents have an opportunity to see that that is being requested. If that's not something they want to participate in, that will be reflected here. In addition, on their student worksheets on the back, there is a place for students and parents to sign off on their participation in the gathering. That is, again, not something that we need you to send in to us. We just provide that as a resource for you to have if you choose to use it. Once you're done entering all the data that you have on any given youth participant, you'll hit save, which will then, again, bring you back to your congregation's landing page. So as you add students and adult leaders, again, you can see them kind of show up on the right-hand side, and then there's the orange button options. You have the option to delete a participant, to edit their information, or to continue to add participants. Once you've entered in all of the information for your congregation, your adult leaders, and your youth participants, then you're ready to hit done to be able to send your registration in to us. When you click the done button, you'll then be brought to a page that will help you generate the forms that Krista mentioned earlier. To actually register for the National Youth Gathering, you will use the forms that this website generates and send them into our office. So on this screen, it just lets you know a reminder about that and our address, in addition to a reminder that you need to put your congregation ID number on your check and what kind of payments you can use. Once you hit the Prepare button circled in the middle of the page, it generates the two forms, your registration account form, which is an overview of everything that you've committed to with your gathering trip, and it will generate your pastoral affirmation form. This is another opportunity for you as the primary adult leader to just double check over the data that you've entered and make sure that all of the students' names and your adults' names are entered correctly. If something isn't correct, it's not a big deal. Just go back a couple of pages, edit the information, and then you'll be able to print off a new form. This needs to be signed by your pastor. A question that we often get is if you don't have a pastor or something is going on with that, a head elder can sign this, or if you have a vacancy pastor, they can sign this in their absence as well. Once you get down to the bottom of this page, there's the print button, which is circled, and then once you've printed off your forms, then you can click the link to return to the main gathering website for registration. When you click that link, you'll be brought back to this page, and this page has our registration book, all of the worksheets, and this is also where if you had a student who had special needs, you can also find the form that you will need to send us in that has the special needs allowances. So just to recap, you'll walk through the registration process online. It'll generate two forms for you at the end that every single congregation needs to send in with their payment, in addition to your special needs forms, one per any student that has a special need that we need to serve at the gathering. So if you have any questions about any gathering registration process needs, you can always contact us here at the National Youth Gathering Office. We're more than happy to serve you and help make this process as smooth as possible for you and your congregation.
Great, thanks, Kyla. We're going to take some time now. If you got additional questions that we will take and answer them either through the chat box or that we will answer them here over the webinar. If you want to type those questions into the chat box, we're ready to help.
There are a couple of questions that have come up that it might be good to answer just for the good of the group. One of the things that I did not mention that I overlooked is that the gathering rates for the hotels are good for 3 days before and 3 days after the gathering. So if you want to come early or stay late, that's perfectly okay. When you actually register, you turn in your registration information, we do ask you, when are you planning to arrive and depart from the hotel? You don't have to stand by that because it's almost a year before you actually get to the gathering, and your plans can change. When you actually get your hotel assignment, you are given an opportunity to make changes to that date. So you don't have to commit to it when you actually register. But the rates are good 3 days before, 3 days after. We do not provide shuttling from the Amtrak station. The train station is downtown and is very convenient. We may be able to connect you with a shuttle company. If you have a large group, you may be able to arrange for a private pickup at the Amtrak station to take you to your hotel, if that's something you want to do. If you're a smaller group, you may just want to catch a cab and just go straight from there. So that would be convenient as well. As we move further through the planning and you get further into your planning, if you have questions about that, contact us, and we can maybe help direct you with that sort of a thing. Now, we also had some questions about situations if someone just has one youth and maybe the parents or one parent wants to come. We have the guidelines for registration in the book. However, there are oftentimes all sorts of extenuating circumstances of things that we don't anticipate, we can't even imagine, or what have you. Just everyone has different circumstances. Don't hesitate to call us, and we will work through those things. We make frequent exceptions to the policies and to the guidelines. Our ultimate goal here at the Gathering Office is to allow every young person who wants to attend the gathering to afford them the opportunity to do it. We will work with you however we can to make that happen. The answer isn't always straightforward, something that we can put in print, but we can work with you and come up with all sorts of ways to make that happen to ensure that every young person gets to attend that wants to.
There was one additional question, maybe you answered it, Krista, about for people who stay at extra days, does the shuttle company that we contract with, do they recognize that like they may be going home on Thursday instead of Wednesday and will provide shuttles still on Thursday?
Yes, they will. If you work with the shuttle company, you work directly with them, as I mentioned, and you will let them know what date you're arriving and what date you're going back home. Now, there will be some limit to that. If you're coming a week early or staying a week late or something to that effect, there is a limit to how many days before and after that they will accommodate the shuttle service. But they will definitely work with you on both sides of the gathering dates. The other piece that I also overlooked is the special needs. Our special needs hotel is the Hilton New Orleans Riverside. If you have a wheelchair-bound person or someone with limited walking abilities, that's probably where we would assign you to be. We will provide shuttle service from the Hilton up to the Superdome, so that person will not have to walk up there every evening. We do not shuttle the entire group, but we will take the special needs person and one companion, and they will be shuttled to the Superdome and back to the Hilton again after the event is over in the evening.
Mark, can you talk to the safety of the city walking back late at night after events?
Absolutely. So a number of questions about the safety of New Orleans. One, by and large, New Orleans is a very safe city, especially in the downtown area. They do an amazing job with events like us when we are in town of having police presence that are looking out after our kids. They are very well aware when we are in their city. They know about the movements of our participants very well, whether it's to the convention center in the morning and helping with traffic or in the evening following our dome events. At the same time as well, people will know from being at previous gatherings is that you can imagine the effect of having 25,000 people leave a stadium at one time, is that you have other adult leaders, other young people who are looking out for one another, that it creates a very safe and fun atmosphere as they're returning to their hotels. As well, a key group of volunteers that we have at the event are community life builders. They wear the yellow shirts if you've seen them around the event. They also provide another layer of connection to the gathering, the hands and feet of the gathering, walking and talking information booth, and also another level of safety and security for our participants. As well as every hotel has COBs assigned to them. And so they are a liaison between you and the hotel, as well as an opportunity to connect with gathering planners and also other resources that we have within the gathering. So the city of New Orleans is very safe. They take very good care of us as guests in their city. And certainly it's a major part of their economy too. And so they do a fantastic job of taking care of events like ours. I think there was a specific question about moving from hotel to hotel. Again, certainly city sense. You want to have that. You go out in groups. Certainly you want to have an adult leader with young people in the evening. We'll send out information too as the city continues to give us information about curfews and other things. But certainly that is, you want to use common sense in a city, but again, the city is a very safe downtown area for our young people.
Krista, is it allowed to have 5 people stay in a room where one's on the floor and you've got 4 in bed?
The basic rule by the standard of the hotel and the fire marshal is that if a hotel room has 2 double beds, it accommodates 4 people. That's it. Now, we do know that people do different things, but if groups try to put 5 and 6 people into a room, you will run into problems. It's not safe. If the hotel were to catch fire or you need to evacuate, you'd be stepping over people and it could hinder your ability to get out of a hotel. So it is best to follow the guidelines of the hotels. They're there for your safety. So if a room has 2 double beds, it will accommodate 4 people. Plan on putting 4 people into the room. The other thing that is maybe you don't think about if you haven't done this before is that you try to save on cost, and that's totally understandable. Do keep in mind that you'll be keeping some long hours. You will be getting up early some days. You'll be staying out late. The days go long. If you put 5 or 6 people into one room with one bathroom, you're going to have to get all of those people through one bathroom in the morning, and that just can be a problem as well. So it's just best to figure 4 people to a double room, 2 people to a king room, and I think you will be more comfortable throughout the gathering as well.
Andrew, there's a question about the time of walking between the facilities, corrected to a mile, as well as our space. Just so you're familiar, I'll talk about this more in detail at other webinars. The distance in the convention center from one end to another is about a mile as well. So you should be prepared for, thinking about that, kind of the pace at which your groups will walk. But probably you're talking 15 to 20 minutes to make that walk. as well as two, you have loading into the facilities and loading out. So if you're thinking about the exact time of trying to be somewhere, to make sure you budget that time. So as Krista said, we're getting ready in the morning, so make sure you budget that time to get to your program options on time. Mark, if you're asking the specific question of two parents with one youth, is to be sure that just contact our office on the front end, talk to Krista or Kyla, and they'll be able to assist you with that. If you're talking about just in general of parents being youth leaders, no, they do not need to contact before registration if there's multiple youth that are attending or a large group attending.
There's a question regarding the adult leaders occupying the same room as the youth. This is something from the gatherings perspective. Our policy is that we will not put anyone in a compromising situation. And what that means essentially is that every congregation has their own guidelines as far as what they will allow with their own youth trips regarding the gathering or whatever. We get calls in our office that people tell us, you haven't given us enough hotel rooms because our church doesn't allow the adults to be in the room with the kids, so we need more hotel rooms. By the same token, we'll get phone calls from congregations, and they say, our group insists that there's an adult in every room with the kids. So every group does their own thing. You have your own policies as to what you do, and we respect that. We would recommend that you do not put an adult and a youth in the same bed. That's just, I think that's just for a safety issue. In policy, it's a good thing to follow. But we will respect your wishes and what you want to do as a congregation. And if you have some special circumstances, we will do our very best to work with you to make sure that you have a safe atmosphere for all of your young people.
We have a geographical question again to confirm about the postmark date for October 21st. Again, things cannot be postmarked before the 21st. They have to be on the 21st or later. And it's a postmark date. That way it does not matter when it actually gets into our office, but when it's postmarked. So whether you're in California or St. Louis, if it's the postmark the 21st, it will have the same order of coming into our slotting order for hotel and also for program options. Stephanie, it is a beautiful 65 degrees every day. Not quite. No, it is summer in the south, as you can imagine. Golf temperatures. If you want to right now, go look at Weather Channel or one of your favorite weather apps and to see what the temperatures are like. Certainly you want to be prepared for warm, humid southern Gulf Coast weather, so you stay hydrated. They definitely wear light clothes that you'll be comfortable in. However, we'd be very sure to tell you as well, depending on how you like temperature and your comfort level, is to bring a sweatshirt because you know you're going in and out of air conditioning and also the heat. And so sometimes that's good to have in your backpack so that you feel more comfortable when you're in sessions and things. But yes, be prepared for summer when you come to New Orleans in July. We have a question that from one of our international participants, and you as well might be connected in different ways with international ministries that are taking place through either our offices here in St. Louis or other connections that you may have. And certainly if you have people interested in attending the gathering, make sure they contact our offices. We have a process for that. So thank you for that question. Jenny, yes. Your kids will receive a backpack upon on-site registration. As well, we'll say that they'll have a Bible that will be a part of that, and we will be providing the paperback edition of the Lutheran Study Bible from CPH. We'll get that information out more, but just so that you're aware, that will also be provided to them.
Krista, two groups coming together, how should their forms be?
Follow the directions in the registration book on groups traveling together. If the two groups are complete separate groups, that you have youth and adults from each group, we would prefer that you each follow the process that Kyla laid out, that you each register separately, use your own congregation ID number, have your own check, and send your forms but send them together. If you're traveling together, you want to be in the same hotel together, then each complete your forms, but combine them, put them together in the same envelope, and send them into the office together. We will then recognize you as separate individual congregations, so each of the primary adult leaders will receive information from us. We will communicate with each group separately. However, we will know that you're traveling together, and we will house you together at the same property.
We have a question about budget for food dollars per day. Again, you might have policies within your own congregation on how you do that, but generally we would recommend probably about maybe $30 a day per youth for food. We'll have another webinar about opportunities to find economical food options in downtown New Orleans. One of those is that since even 2010 when we were there are new grocery stores and things in the downtown area that are walkable. So you might consider doing breakfast, maybe getting granola bars and fruit and other things that will be an inexpensive way to do breakfast in the morning. And then there will be food options, again, very reasonably priced at the convention center and other places nearby. Krista works with the hotels in the area to come up with very economical meals. And then certainly be thinking about at least one night that you go out for maybe a special Cajun or New Orleans meal, just so that your young people will be able to experience that. But generally, in our budgeting information, we have around $30 a day for food.
Hey, Krista, can you request a hotel with breakfast?
No. First of all, there are very few hotels that do have a free breakfast included. So the chances of you getting one of these hotels as your assigned property are very slim. So it's best if you just budget for breakfast, count on it that you need to financially provide it and or make time to get your breakfast at some restaurant, or else, as Mark was saying, that you get things from a grocery store and just have your breakfast at the hotel with your group. But do not count on a free breakfast at the hotel.
Can you count on your hotel room having a microwave or refrigerator?
That's probably not a good thing to count on that as well. You may be able to request one of those things, but I wouldn't count on it. Typically, hotels have these things, but in limited supply. The same as with rollaways. They may have them, but a lot of times they're on a first-come, first-served basis. They won't promise them, and they will not guarantee them. So, again, you can request a refrigerator or microwave, but do not count on absolutely getting one.
Krista, does the registration money that needs to be sent to the office also include the hotel fees? Are those two separate payments?
Those are two separate payments. When you send your registration materials into our office beginning October 21st, you will have to send $100 deposit for each person at that time. Now, at this point in time, you still do not know about your hotel assignment. That will come in the spring of 2016. When you find out your hotel assignment, you will then be requested to send a deposit for the hotel to our office, and you will be given that amount at that point in time, and that obviously is based on the hotel to which you're assigned. So total, the registration fee is $325 per person for the gathering. That covers your gathering registration, your Bible, your backpack, other gathering materials. Your food, your transportation, and your hotel fees are in addition to the $325 registration fee that each participant pays.
Krista, can you explain then how the hotel money is transferred from the gathering office to the hotel?
Certainly. Let's just for round numbers, let's say for the sake of argument that you're assigned to a hotel that's $100 a night. We don't have any of those, but let's say $100 a night, and you get 3 hotel rooms. You get 2 double rooms and 1 king room. You will get this information from us, and there will be a form, and it has, for the king room, 2 lines, for the double rooms, 4 lines. You are going to fill out a rooming list. You're going to tell me who is in each of those rooms. It will also give you the name and all the contact information at your hotel, and it will say it's $100 a night. You have the 3 rooms at $100 a night, so your deposit is going to be $300. And let's just say it's a Marriott. You will then either write a check, or in this case, you can use a credit card. Let's say you're going to write a check for $300 made payable to the Marriott. However, you're going to send that to our office. We collect all of the deposits here in our office, and we take them to the hotel. So we work with the hotel to make sure that all of the rooms are secured and that all the deposits are received by the hotel.
And must the registration be sent through the mail? Can it be made online?
The registration fee all has to be sent through the mail. And do not take credit cards from that. It's either check, cashier's check, money order, or LCMS stored account. And as always, if any of these things, as you start with your planning process, we've shared a lot of information with you. We realize that. And even some of it in the materials can be a bit confusing, and especially if it's your first time. Please do not hesitate to contact our office. Our emails are the best because we're in and out of the office a lot. But send us an email or call us. We are more than happy to help you with any questions that you may have about the whole registration process.
So for a few more seconds here, if there's any last questions during our Q&A time. Gloria, there is some financial aid that is available. We ask that there will be information about it in the registration book, in which you can contact our office for what is available to support people in their attendance at the gathering. Well, we certainly thank you for all your time. You know, we've already worked a long day already today, and so we certainly thank you for connecting with us and being part of this. I have a couple closing announcements just again to remind you of a few things, is that the next webinar will be on August 12th, where we will focus on the gathering program. And so if you got that NYG 101 handout, that gives you some kind of the basics with schedules and some other things as well. There will also have other webinars related to kind of a day in the life of the gathering, which will even go more detail and kind of the ins and outs of the gathering program, also food tips and other logistical pieces. We'll be advertising those in the specific times and things on social media, gathering update emails, and the website as well. Here's our contact information again. Remember, best information source is the gathering website. There, too, you have the opportunity to sign up for the gathering update email. Those will be coming out with increased regularity as we now get closer to registration and to the gathering. There's our email address for the registration office and a phone number. And then also there's just general gathering questions or information of our youth ministry email address and contact information. Again, please be sure to connect with us on social media, as well as having your young people connect with us on social media as well. See a couple more questions that are coming in, and we'll make sure we get those answered before we log off.
Stephanie, could you share more on what you mean? Can our youth parents join in on the next gathering? Like as an adult leader?
Stephanie, no, we would welcome the parents to join in on the webinars as well. It's helpful if the parents are informed and they know what their young people are signing up for and what they can expect. It does help the parents to support them and to get excited for them as well. So we definitely would welcome the parents to join in on the webinars as well.
And we will have specific information, too, just as we did in 2013, for parents that may not be attending as an adult leader. And so that's just, again, that they know what's happening at the youth gathering so they can be engaging in conversations with their children as well. So we'll be getting that information out as we get closer to the gathering. Well, again, we just want to thank you for how you support young people in your congregation and community. We pray for God's blessings upon you and all that you do related to youth ministry. And again, as Krista and Kyle have said, we are here to serve you as you prepare for the National Youth Gathering. And we just thank God for your support and all that you do for young people in your churches. Take care and God bless. See you soon.